start talking about NOCEBO, and this one is directed by Lorcan Finnegan, who previously directed the movie Without Name, which I have reviewed on the channel. And this one stars Eva Green and Mark Strong, so it's two pretty recognisable actors there. Now, what is NOCEBO? You may not have even known what that word means, because I didn't before I watched this movie. So I had a look, and basically NOCEBO is essentially the inverse of placebo. So essentially, if you think something is going to be bad for you, you might well end up feeling, worse or ill, even if it has no actual effect. So that's what a NOCEBO is in a kind of real terms. But what's the movie about? Okay, so it focuses on Eva Green's character, who is a successful fashion designer, and she has sort of got some type of illness that defies medical explanation, essentially. And, it affects her pretty badly, but kind of infrequently, if that makes sense, and not all the time. Her husband, Mark Strong, is kind of like a marketing executive, so they're both quite successful people. And they have a kind of a young daughter, but they're kind of struggling to deal with it all, ultimately, because it's kind of a lot to deal with it, And so essentially we have a Filipino kind of au pair or nanny that kind of turns up to help with the running of the house, taking the kind of the young daughter to school, all those kind of things. Now, this Filipino nanny appears to be somewhat of a traditionalist in regards to Eastern kind of alternative medicines and things like that, and essentially offers Eva Green's character kind of respite through doing these kind of, various kind of rituals and etc. and alternative medicine, all this kind of stuff, which ultimately makes her kind of feel better. But is there something else going on? So is this a case of it's all in her mind, it's all in Eva Green's mind? Is it a case of this nanny is, just wanting to do good, she wants to help people, something like that? Or has she got an ulterior motive? You have to watch the movie and find out. So before I go any further, this review will have some mild spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything big, but I do have to, there's just something I want to kind of critique, really, that I can't really doing without kind of mentioning a certain scene. Now, it's not going to spoil a huge amount, but it's a mild spoiler, so there you go. So first of all, let's talk about what I think works. Now, I think the biggest strength of this movie, you've got two veteran actors who are well established and well lauded. Eva Green especially is a fan favourite, having starred in many kind of genre films, as has Mark Strong. And as you would expect, they are both excellent. I feel they're a portrayal of a married couple with a complicated but somewhat loving relationship still, is very, very good. And I thought they both did an excellent job. And the whole point of this story really is, is this a disease of the mind, or is it something physical? So it requires quite a lot of acting, I think, from Eva Green. And I've got to say, I think she does, an excellent job, particularly really kind of selling you on the fact that she is kind of suffering, but she doesn't know what it is. Is she imagining it, or, are these things kind of helping her, for example? So that's, it's great acting, first of all. I think the plot is kind of interesting, but when it boils down to it, without spoiling you, it's a reasonably kind of, somewhat obvious, maybe, but it's still, I think, once you've watched it all, I think it ends up being somewhat satisfying. And I say that because I feel the movie takes a while to really kind of get in its stride. So I think some people may be perturbed by a seemingly directionless story, maybe, when it kind of first gets going. But it does kind of make sense. It does kind of have a degree of logic with a few kind of asterisks as the movie concludes. There's some interesting kind of VFX work here. I don't want to spoil anything specifics for you, but there are a couple of quite interesting sequences that are quite bizarre, to be quite honest, and quite kind of gross at the same sort of time. And the movie is, I have to say, particularly kind of well shot. I mean, a lot of it is internal shots in houses and stuff, but it just, I don't know, because we are meant to believe that Eva Green's character and Mark Strong's character, you know, they're successful kind of like business people. So they have this kind of somewhat kind of like upper class life, if you like. And I think the movie, the way it's kind of filmed in the kind of with the set decoration, the cinematography, without kind of doing anything too extravagant, because they're not like royalty or anything, but I feel it really kind of like, it sells you on that kind of, that belief ultimately. And, you know, on a technical level, I think it's all proficiently made. Everything is good in that regards. Anything that doesn't work for me, like I've said, I do feel this movie takes a little while to get its stride. I think when you watch this movie and kind of look back, it seems reasonably obvious, but or if you kind of like watch a lot of films, it might seem kind of fairly obviously from the onset. But to me, I felt it took a while to really kind of find its feet, to be honest. And you might be thinking, what am I watching? What's the actual story about here? Because the movie doesn't want to play all its kind of cards kind of straight away. I do think it could have maybe set it up a little better, if I'm completely honest, because I do feel because it kind of wants all the reveals to happen towards the end of the movie, some viewers may thinking, I don't really know what I'm watching, and I don't really quite understand, especially the kind of what is the deal with kind of Eva Green's illness. I think they should have had some scenes with some doctors and things like that to kind of like to flesh out that kind of part of the story. And this is where we're going to get into some mild spoiler issues here. I do have some kind of like logic issues with this film. And I won't go into everything, but I'm going to give you 2 examples of where I feel like I don't know if I quite buy that. Example number 1 is we have this this nanny kind of turns up, and she turns up out of nowhere, and she claims that the Eva Green character has kind of organised it. And because of this illness, this mystery illness, it's like, oh, I forget things. But I think surely any mother who's going to let a stranger into her house would surely check, like, you must have arranged it on the internet or something. Surely there would be like records that you'd be able to see. You know, you wouldn't just accept a stranger coming in and you have no memory of organising and saying, yeah, I'm here to kind of like move in with you. It just seemed like a little bit silly to me, like Eva Green's character or Mark Strong just completely kind of go, oh well, you must have forgot because of this kind of illness. It seemed like a kind of like a conceit to get round that sort of that issue, to be honest with you. It just didn't seem correct to me. And that leads me to the second thing, which is a very similar kind of issue. We see a flashback sequence in the Philippines, and I don't want to kind of give away exactly what happens, but ultimately it involves a building and kind of what happens in that building. And it's the same sort of thing. There should be some kind of record of this. Even if you can say Eva Green's character is forgotten, I'm sure Mark Strong's character wouldn't have forgotten. It just seemed a convenience that it's just breezed past, because surely there would have been some type of discussion, especially when a nanny from the Philippines turns up. When you kind of look back on this kind of story, you will think, you know, that doesn't seem quite right. I can maybe accept that through kind of voodoo and things like this, and the circumstances that reveal themselves, you can say that Eva Green's character is under some sort of spell, but Mark Strong's character isn't. So, you know, again, it just seems kind of a little bit kind of like hard to swallow a little bit. And the only other thing I would say is we see Eva Green in the flashback, and she seems like a completely different character to what we've seen in the kind of the rest of the movie. And I think there should have been a little bit more evidence that they're the same kind of person, because they act very differently. And, you know, it doesn't, again, it's not, you don't see that connective tissue as much. It doesn't think like, well, that seems to have come out of nowhere, because this character's kind of acting a little bit, well, quite a lot different, to be honest, and ultimately, you know, it informs the story as to, you know, the ultimate outcome. But it's like it's burying the lead because the character acts nothing like that for the like 99% of the film. So I have some problems with this movie in regards to the writing. But on an acting side and a, you know, a kind of a technical standpoint, some people have I've read some reviews of this, and a lot of people have seem to have issues with the Filipino woman's acting. I thought she was fine, to be honest. Some people say her pronunciation wasn't correct. Whatever, you know, it was fine to me. Obviously, if you're Filipino, you might object, but for the rest of us, it's fine. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's still a well-made movie, and I think it really excels with the acting side of stuff, with at least Eva Green's character. Although the story for me was a little bit, had a few holes in it, if you ask me. So 6 out of 10, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.